Hey guys, so in this video I want to share with you a page slider control that I've implemented in Unity. So I just shared this project on GitHub with a demo scene that you can try it to see how it works, and I'm just want to explain to you how to use this control in your own projects. So let me just show you. Okay, so this is the project that I've shared on GitHub. You have like this demo folder with some few examples, and the control that I'm talking about is this one. So basically it's a scroll view that allows you to scroll through pages. Instead of being like a continuous scroll, you can just scroll from one page to the other, as you can see right here. Unity does not have this control. I needed this for one of my projects, so I developed this control, and I'm now sharing it with you guys for if you want to use it. So you can see that I have this slider with 3 pages, and this is a demo static. So basically this is a demo where you have the slider already all built when the scene starts. So you can see that I have this page slider, I have 3 pages inside, I have this page dot indicator, and the page dot indicator is basically the component that deals with this dots right here that you can see in the bottom. And I don't know if you noticed, but when you are using the slider, the dots change color to indicate the one that is active at each moment, in each moment. So now let me just show you how you can build the slider from scratch like this. Let me just create a new scene here. Oh, I already have this one, test. Okay, I'm going to use this one. So basically you create a canvas. Now that we have a canvas, and go to the page slider folder and you drag the page slider prefab into the canvas. You can adjust the page slider to whatever layout you want, like the size and the anchors and all that you need. Now you have the page slider, and in the page slider component you have this add page button here in the editor section. So if you press this, you can see that I'm adding pages, and we are not seeing anything because the pages are empty by default, but you can see that now we have 3 pages. And this that I'm showing you guys is just if you want to build like a static slider, you know, like you have all the content when the game starts or when the app starts, you already have all the content and you want to have that slider there. This is the way to do it. So you can just build the slider in edit time, so when you start the game, the slider is all set up. Afterwards, I'm going to show you how to build the slider at runtime. So in this case, like I was saying, you already have all the content. You can see that you have 3 pages, and basically inside these pages you can create let me just image, okay, and you can just set the content that you want. And one thing to notice is that the structure in my slider, in this page slider, is you have a page slider. The page slider has pages, and the pages are page containers. These are page containers, so you don't need to worry about this component. This is created automatically for you. And then the page container has a content object, which is the page view, and this is the one that you want to deal with. This is where you actually build your UI. So when you create an add page, when you do an add page, it basically creates a page container with the page inside that you are actually going to use. So in this case, I'm just adding this image. Let me just show you. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate this image, set it here with a different color, like a green one, and this one. I'm just going to set it here and with a blue color. And now if we start the game, you have a slider working, so you can see that the slider is already working. Now, this is one way to create slider. Of course, that this works if you have like different pages. If each element of the slider is different, you can do it like this. But if each element is exactly the same, you're gonna have the same layout. For example, an image slider, you can do it in a different way, like the one that I showed you before. You can just use a prefab when you are creating the pages. So just remember to set clear here, so it clears all the arrays and everything. And let me use the prefab that I'm using in the demos, which is this slider page. And let's just tell you that this slider page needs to have a page view. All pages in the slider needs to have a page view, and then you can add whatever component you want in the page view. So here I'm just using the slider page. I'm going to add the page, so 3 pages again, and now you could just like configure this. So for example, I have these images, okay, the Breaking Bad. I could just change this to the text, I'm just going to recreate what we have there, and you can see that in a few seconds you can have a page slider working. So not a few seconds, maybe a few minutes. And the wire. Basically, these are like the best TV shows out there. So Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, and you have The Wire, and you have an image slider. So this is how easy it is to create. At least I hope it's easy. At least when I was creating this, okay, so I think this is a really pretty easy workflow to create sliders. And what else can you do here? Oh, you have the dots indicator, and the dots indicator are those small dots that you can see in the slider right here. Basically, if you want to use it, you can see that it's an optional reference, but if you want to use it, you can just drag the dots indicator to your layout, position it wherever you want, and assign it to the page dots indicator. By default, it's using a placeholder, a prefab for the page dot. But the idea here is that you don't need to create the dots by yourself. So it creates automatically when you are adding pages. So if I add 3 pages, you can see that now I have 3 dots, and then I can just configure these dots. One thing to notice here is that these page dots don't automatically change the color, like which one is active or inactive. You need to do it yourself. So you have this page dot component, which has the events on active state change, which is true or false, so the page is active or is not active. And you can just create another component that listens to these events and basically change the color. Actually, I think we can't change the color directly from here, right? Color, no, because it's a color value. I think we cannot give it a color value in the Unity events. Okay, I just thought about this right now. Yeah, and of course you can. So for example, I have this slider dot, which is an example component, and you can see that this slider dot is referencing the page dot component and is listening to the on active state change and basically changing the color when the page is active or not. And okay, so this is creating a slider from scratch, like the one that I showed you here. So if you already have all the content and you want to create the slider and in edit time, now you have other options. So I have this dynamic slider. Basically, this dynamic slider, you can see that the slider is empty, so it does not have anything. And I'm creating everything from scratch when the game starts. So in this page slider demo, you can see that I have this list of items with the text and the image that I want to use. I have the page prefab that I'm going to use and a reference to the page slider. And so when the game starts, I'm basically going through each one of the items, creating the pages, configuring each page with the text and the image, and basically the only thing that I need to call to create the actual slider is this slider add page. And everything else is exactly as we were seeing. So it creates a page, it creates the dots, and it creates everything. And you still have another option, which is this demo, no, not the lazy one. And the lazy one, in terms of the building the slider, is exactly the same, but you can see that I call it lazy because we are downloading the images as we go along, only when we need them. So you can see that instead of the image, I have the URL of the image, and I'm not dealing with this. So you can see that the page slider demo is exactly the same. So I'm just creating the pages and giving the pages to the slider, but I have a different prefab for each page, which is this slider page lazy, where I can give it the image URL instead of the image. And here, what I'm doing in this slider page lazy is that I'm referencing the page view and I'm listening to the on changing to active state. So this page view has multiple events. So you can see that we have these 3 events. So changing to active. So when the page is inactive, is changing to active. On changing to inactive. So the page is the currently active one and is going to be inactive, and on active state change. So basically I just pass you a true or false value. So it changed to true and it changed to false. The difference is that this is called when the state actually changes, and this is called when it starts changing. So when we are dragging the slider and when we release the slider and it detects that it should change the page, then it calls this, oh, I'm going to change to that page. So in this way, I'm using this on changing to active, so to load the image, to download the image and apply it to the image component that I have in the page. So as you can see here, I'm just listening to this event, and if I don't have the image, I just get image coroutine. I just start this coroutine to download the image and apply it to the image component. That's why I call it the lazy demo. And I think this is it about the page slider. I think the on-pressed, now I remember that this page dot, I have this on-pressed event. I think I'm not listening in this implementation. I haven't yet implemented the slider listening to this event. So it changes automatically the pages because I'm not using it in my project, but I already created the structure to use this, but I haven't implemented it. So if you need it, you can implement it or just tell me and I'll do it for you. And one thing that I also wanted to talk about was about, let me just remember. So we have the slider, the dots indicator, the scripts. Oh, and we have just another component that you might want to change, which is the page scroller. So we have the page slider, we have a scroll view, and here I have another component I created, which is the page scroller, and this is the one that deals with the scrolling and the snapping behavior. So you can see that you have these two values here that you can tweak, and basically the mean dot drag is the minimum amount or the minimum percent of screen that you need to drag to actually change the page. So you can see that right now I'm using like 10% of drag to change the page. So if I just do something like this, you can see that it goes back to the beginning. But if I do more than 10%, it changes the page. And you can configure this. So let's suppose that you want to do like, no, the user needs to drag like 90% to actually change the page. So maybe I can change like here. It goes back to the beginning, and I probably need to change it here so it goes to the next one. And so of course 0.9 is not like 0.1 to 0.3 for my experience works pretty well. And you have the snap duration. This is basically the amount of seconds that it takes to snap to the other page. So right now I'm using like 0.3 seconds, but if I put like, I don't know, 5 seconds. Just testing this now on the fly, let's see if it works. So I do things like this, and you can see that it takes like 5 seconds to reach the other page, which is probably not what we want, but oh, yeah, and it takes 5 seconds no matter the distance that it needs to go. So you see, if it's a big distance, it's moving a lot faster, but if it's a small distance, even if I do something like this, you can see it's going to take like 5 seconds to reach the initial state. So I think a small value works pretty well. So I think the default value that I have right here probably work pretty well. And you also have these events on the page scroller. So when on page change started and on page change ended, it basically gives the index of the current page and the next one, and on the current page and the last page and the current page. And so yeah, so this is it. This is the page slider control, and I hope it's useful for you guys. And if you have any feedback or if you have questions, and if you need anything else implemented in this page slider, please just let me know. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot to show you that you can access this on GitHub. Let me show you. Yeah, you can access this on GitHub on my profile, and you have the Unity Canvas page slider, and you can just download this release from here, which is a Unity package that you can import into your own projects. And basically the Unity package, as usual, does not come with a demo, but only with the prefabs that you need and the scripts that you need, which is basically this folder right here. So just drag the page slider and the page dots, and you are good to go. So yeah, this is it. So thank you guys.